Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is July 10, 2023, and today we are doing another quick news update in the immigration world. So today we are going to be talking about the news coming out of the USCIS, which is the official government website, uscis.gov for US Citizenship and Immigration Services, and a little bit from the Department of State from their travel.state.gov. So we're gonna briefly mention something from USCIS. First of all, in July 6, 2023, some good news came out for anybody who has really any kind of application or petition pending in the process with USCIS, is that USCIS launched online rescheduling of biometrics appointments, which is definitely great news because before, if you had some kind of issue and you weren't able to attend the biometrics appointment, you would have had to either call or schedule the InfoPass appointment or send some kind of a letter by mail mentioning that you are not able to attend the appointment, and then wait for the confirmation of rescheduling and risk basically missing the appointment. But now you will be able to do it through a USCIS online account. Of course, you have to have good reasoning for the reschedule, and some of the sufficient reasons can include stuff like illness, some kind of medical issues, something that is going on with your health, some kind of previously planned travel, which is good to know because it's sort of a relaxed kind of reason. If you have a previously planned travel, you can always say that. Some kind of significant life events, wedding, funeral, graduation ceremony, that's according to USCIS, which is again very nice to know. Inability to obtain transportation to an appointment, inability to obtain leave from the employment or caregiver responsibilities, and a late delivered or undelivered biometric service appointments, which again happens sometimes. I wouldn't say often, but it does happen, so it's really nice to know that now you can reschedule. Okay, moving further, we got some more good news for nationals of Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. If you have watched a previous news release on this channel, USCIS, the Department of Homeland Security, actually announced that they are extending the temporary protected status for El Salvador, Honduras, Nepal, Nicaragua. Now, some of the countries that are benefiting from the changes, or more so some of the newer implementations from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, are the Colombia country, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. And basically, it is the family reunification parole, which was announced on July 7, 2023, which honestly is a fantastic news. What does it mean? Well, basically, if you do have an approved Form I-130, which is a petition for alien relative, and you are a national of Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, you might be able to come to the United States on a parole, on a family reunification parole, FRP, all right, to reunify with your family temporarily and remain in the United States while finishing, while the processing, the I-130 is finished, which is, basically dealing with documentary qualification, medical examination, and the interview. If you are, going through the family reunification process, if you are dealing with the I-130 petition, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel because this is probably the most discussed topic on this channel, is the family reunification. So these new processes promote family unity and provide lawful pathways consistent with our laws and our values, said Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro N. Mayorkas. The department has proven that the expansion of safe, orderly, and lawful pathways combined with strong enforcement is effective in reducing dangerous irregular migration to the United States. The only question I have for Alejandro and Mayorkas is when will the same stuff will be implemented? When the same stuff will be implemented for the rest of the world, because the rest of the world also deserves, if you do have an approved I-130 petition, you shouldn't be necessarily from Colombia, El Salvador, Guatemala, or Honduras. It should be the rest of the world also being able to, family members, approved beneficiaries, to come to the United States on a parole, to be there with their families while the rest of the process is passing by for the I-130 petition. Would be nice. It's a good start. It's a good start to see that it is happening for these countries, but I think the rest of the world deserves, when you're filing the I-130 petition, when you're doing everything legally, the rest of the world deserves to be with their families who is petitioning for them as well. Okay, so one more thing that I wanted to mention in this video, as I promised, it is quick, it's going to be quick today, is the one for the employment-based immigrant visas, and it's specifically for India, and it has to do with the retrogression that we have all been surprised. Well, I mean, if I say surprised, it might be kind of a long way coming, I guess. So some people are surprised, some people are not surprised, but it's for the EB3 third employment-based third preference, specifically for India chargeability area. And I've gotten quite a lot of questions regarding that retrogression, just asking me to explain that retrogression. And I think Department of State did a pretty good job explaining their own fault of the system that was created, by, well, it's not the Department of State that created it, it's actually established by Congress. Department of State is just responsible for enforcing that system that was established by Congress. So here it is, here is this page right here. I'm going to put it in description below so you can read it yourself, but I'm going to read some of this so that you are aware of what is happening. And that's also, if you are dealing with family immigration, that is also good to know this information here, because it's pretty much exactly the same thing that is happening in family preference categories. That's why we are waiting for so long on some of these family preference categories, and that's why we see some of these family preference categories not moving with each new release of the visa bulletin. So why did the Department of State retrogress the India EB3 final action date in the July 2023 visa bulletin? The Department of State is responsible for enforcing the annual limits on visa use established by Congress. So Congress limited the amount of immigrant visas that are available for each category. As the department explains in the operation of numerical control system, and if you're interested, you can read that as well. Again, I'll put the link in the description below. When setting a final action date in the visa bulletin, the demand for visas by applicants in an immigrant visa category chargeable to a particular country is compared to the visas remaining for that country in the current fiscal year. If the demand for visas in a category exceeds the supply of available numbers, the department establishes a final action date, which is the priority date of the first applicant for whom a visa number could not be immediately allocated. Alright, so now it's starting to make sense. India is currently oversubscribed for immigrant visas in numerically limited immigrant visa categories as described in the visa bulletin. Their total demand for family and employment-based visas during this fiscal year, which is fiscal year 2023, exceeds the 7% per country limit permitted by law in the Immigration and Nationality Act. As a result, applicants chargeable to India are subject to prorating under INA 202E. The department estimates that by July 1st, 2023, all of the prorated EB3 visa numbers available to applicants chargeable to India in fiscal year 2023 will be used. Further, because there is sufficient worldwide EB3 demand, the department cannot allocate additional otherwise unused EB3 visas to India under INA 202A5, which again, it kind of shows that sometimes the Department of State does use the immigrant visas that have not been allocated for some of the countries, for the rest of the world, for certain chargeability areas, if there is more demand in those chargeability areas. But I hope this explains. Again, if you do have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I do try to make a new video every day going by volume, answering your immigration related questions. So thank you very much for watching. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video.